Shishad Varyu. Over the next 1 hour, we'll have our experts answer all your stock-related queries. Just WhatsApp to us your question on the number flashing below on your screens. Tell us the stock name, your buy price, number of shares you hold, and how long you plan on holding them. And our experts will guide you on whether it's time to buy, sell, or hold. Before we get started with all the queries, an eye on the markets first. Well, a continued decline coming in, but still off that day's low level, Ashesha.
Absolutely, Kanishka, and in line with what global markets were suggesting, Nifty is now down over 200 points for today's trading session. Come below that 24,700 mark. We have Nifty Bank, which is down in excess of 500 points in today's trade. It is near that 55,550 mark. All sectoral indices continue to bleed in today's trading session. We have PSU banking stocks which are impacted the most. PSU banking index is down over 1% in trade today. We have Canara Bank, which is down over 3.5%. Followed by Union Bank of India, Indian Overseas Bank, State Bank of India, all of them sitting with cuts in excess of 1.5% in trade today. On the gaining side, we barely have anything. We have oil refiners which continue to gain. So ONGC is sitting with an uptick of nearly 0.8% in trade today. But apart from that, we have defense stocks which continue to remain abuzz on the back of rising geopolitical tensions. So BEL, that one should come up for you on your screens. Bharat Electronics up 2%, the biggest gainer on the Nifty 50 index. We have other defense stocks, the likes of Bharat Dynamics, HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics. These are some of the defense stocks which are buzzing in trade today. On the index level, Adani Ports, that one is down over 2% today. SBI Life, Ultratech Cement, Shriram Finance, Bajaj Finserv, several stocks which are under acute pressure today. The index, of course, is sitting with deep cuts in today's trading session. But Kanishka, let's get started with all the stocks that are buzzing in trade today.
That's right. Let's take a look at all the queries that our viewers have for us. And to answer them, we have Kunal Bothra of kunalbothra.co.in joining us to answer all the queries of our guests. So Kunal, the first query is coming from Navendu Sharma, who's written to us from Patna. Now, they want to know if it is advisable to buy or begin accumulating ACC around the current levels. Their time horizon is 1 to 2 years.
Good morning. So I would suggest that if you're looking at a 1 to 2 year time frame, not to buy the stock at current levels or avoid buying the stock at current levels because it's still showing signs of weakness. Now, the concern with ACC is that the stock on the short-term charts is very close towards retesting its major support point of 1800, 1850 levels. So it's entered into that range. Maybe over the next few days, if the stock shows signs of further weakness, you might see the stock dragging a little bit more lower from that 1800 mark. So not to buy at current levels. If you're looking to buy, a better price point could emerge closer to 1750 levels for ACC. If the stock happens to retest those kind of price territory, that's a very good zone where you can look to add.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on ACC, but we also have Carol who has written to us. Now, she's holding some shares of L&T Finance and she's asking, she had purchased them at 150 rupees per share. She's asking if she could continue holding on to her positions. So, L&T Finance, Kunal, what will your view be on this stock?
See, I understand that today there was some negative news flow for L&T Finance, but I think it's a quality stock. Excellent franchisee, and I think at current levels of 180, 185, the stock has already gone through a sort of a 7-8% correction from its previous swing highs of 198 for L&T Finance. I think it's an excellent stock. You should try and use these dips to add further if you're looking at this as a positional, as a long-term play. My sense is that the stock would eventually break past about the 200 mark. So broadly for the next say 1 year, 1.5 year kind of a time frame, I would look at 220 to 25 as a target for L&T Finance.
All right, 220 to 225 is the target price for L&T Finance. But moving on, Kunal, we have the next query coming in from our viewer Dikshita. Now, she holds shares of Dabur and Aarti Industries. For Dabur, her price was 1,430, and for Aarti Industries, it's 1,205. She wants you to get a technical chart check done for these two, and also wants to understand if these can be accumulated more at the current levels, if there is a fall going forward, but she hasn't mentioned her time frame as of now.
See, I think for Dabur, I would suggest not to average at current levels unless you are looking at this as a 3-year, 5-year kind of a time horizon. Only then it makes sense to add the stock at current levels, because what happens is many a times the stocks, they may look attractive when they come back into their previous support levels, but then eventually these stocks, they drag a lot. They spend a lot of time at lower price levels, so that could be a concern for a stock like Dabur. Unless you have a time frame of 3 years plus, I would suggest to just wait out for some more time. Aarti Industries, on the other hand, I strongly believe that there is a strong case which could be built that the stock would probably have formed a near to medium term bottom for itself. It fell sharply from that 750 mark. I'm not sure if your buy price is 1200 plus or it's adjusted towards the special situation for the stock price. But I would suggest that if you've been holding on to the stock price from those 1000 plus levels, it's a good price where you can look to start adding or averaging out so that you can reduce your cost price. In the next wave of uptrend for Aarti Industries, my belief is that the stock should be able to cross levels of 500 to 525 also.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on Aarti Industries and several other stocks that we discussed. But we have Ramesh, who has written to us from Bangalore. Now he's holding, looking to invest in two-wheeler stocks, and he has mentioned two stocks. One is Hero MotoCorp and the other one is TVS Motor. Kunal, which one would you recommend, or either it could be both of them?
See, I would suggest that at current levels, Hero MotoCorp could actually be a much more better bet. Now, both these stocks, of course, have been multi-baggers when you look at this from the 5-year, 10-year kind of a time scale. But just because of the recent correction and the fact that Hero MotoCorp, I think, has corrected somewhere around 40% to 50% from those September 2024 highs. So, which means that the risk reward would be slightly bit more better. And, it's a quality franchise, quality name, for the stock price. So, when you generally get these kind of stocks at a 40% kind of a discount, it's considered to be a good price point for these names. And the best part is that many of the other four-wheelers and auto stock names, they are looking attractive as such on the charts, which means eventually when the mean reversion completes for stocks like Hero MotoCorp, there is a higher degree that you can get much more better, stronger price returns into these names. So have a long-term time frame and look to accumulate Hero MotoCorp on dips at current levels.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on the two-wheelers space. But moving on, Kunal, the next query is coming from Kolkata. The viewer wants to know about Indigo and Bharti Airtel. They have 20 stocks of Indigo at a price of 4,871, and they have 20 stocks of Bharti as well at a price of 1,678. They want to know if they can buy more, and if not, what are the levels that they should enter at?
For Interclub Aviation in the morning also, I had mentioned that say closer to 5,000 levels, 5,000 or just a shade below 5,000 mark could actually be a good price point where you can look to start accumulating. I'm not sure whether the stock would actually hit back into those kind of a price territories. But then I think you have to be a little bit more patient. With the surge in crude oil prices we've seen in the last couple of days, there's bound to be maybe a more of a residual impact which could happen into the stock price for Interglobe Aviation. So just be a little bit patient. Maybe another week or so, another 10 days, you might expect that the stock may drift gradually lower and then try and accumulate further. Bharti Airtel, I think, again, is a phenomenal chart. The stock has been a very strong relative outperformer when we look at this in terms of the peers, in terms of the Nifty 50 basket. So I believe buy on dips for Bharti Airtel could be a good strategy. You can start at current levels also.
Okay, so buy on dips is a strategy coming in on Bharti Airtel, and Kunal also shared his views on Interglobe Aviation. We need to slip into a very short break on that note, where we will discuss many more queries on the other side of the break. Keep sending them to us. Share or the company that you're holding, your purchase price, your time horizon, and we'll try to answer as many as we can over the course of the next 1 hour. We already have Kunal Botra with us to answer all your queries, and the next question has come in from Dr. Sunil Kumar BK. He is holding about 1160 shares of Ujjivan Small Finance Bank at an average price of 28 rupees per share. He is asking whether he should average out and or whether he should exit out from this particular position. So Ujjivan Small Finance Bank on the charts. How does the charts look like for Ujjivan Small Finance Bank?
See, it looks attractive at current levels now. I understand that the stock has run up exceedingly high, and great that you're holding on to the stock from those 28 levels approximately, which I think, if I'm not wrong, was the major swing low for Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. And on the quarterly charts, the stock prices start to look extremely attractive because of the way the previous 4 quarters or 4 or 5 straight quarters of a negative price trend happened for the stock price. It fell from I think 55 rupees thereabouts towards 25 to 30 range for Ujjivan Small Finance Bank, and the stock has now recovered back towards 45 to 50 range. So I think it's a good stock which you can hold on to, especially when we see such kind of a strong quarterly revival. Maybe not in immediate next quarter, but I think post that, say over the next 3 to 4 quarters, we can expect that the stock may try and challenge the previous highs of 55 as well. So would suggest a hold on Ujjivan Small Finance Bank.
All right, a whole call coming in for Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. But moving on, Kunal, we have the next query coming in from Gautam, who's written to us from Mumbai. They have 7,000 shares of Wipro at a price of 262 rupees. They want to understand if they should hold or sell the stock, and if so, is there any other stock that you would like to recommend which has a better potential for the next 12 to 18 months?
See, I think Wipro could be a good bet. You may look at Infosys. You may also look at adding on to a few other large cap IT names, say like a TechM or an HCL Tech, because my sense is that we are looking at a potential revival of sorts for these IT stocks, and especially given the fact that these stocks have been huge underperformers, there could be a chance that you might expect that these stocks may go into a steady, gradual uptrend. Wipro, the only concern with Wipro is that in the last 2 major legs of the price uptrend, and I'm talking of from 2021 onwards, from that aspect, Wipro has been a huge underperformer with respect to the other large cap IT stocks. So being heavily invested over here may be a bit tricky. That's why I'm saying just diversify a bit and add few more other large cap names.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on Wipro, add large cap rates, that's the word coming in. But we also have Mr. Akshay Bhagwat, Senior Vice President, Derivatives Research at JM Financial Services, now joining us. Akshay, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us here on ET Now. And we have several queries that have come in. Radhakrishnan, who has written to us, he's spoken about 4 shares, and I'll take your views on those: BSC, Interglobe Aviation, L&T, and Cochin Shipyard. He wants your view on all of these counters.
So good morning. BSE has had its fair share of run-up. The run-up has come pretty fast in a very short time duration, and it's a minor profit booking, as you see from the levels of 3,000. So I believe somewhere the stock is going to take a support. 2,600 is the possible support zone, which I'm expecting today. It's recovered from the levels of 2,650. So if you have a buy position, the advice is to continue to hold the stock, because technically still the overall broader view continues to be positive. Expecting a pullback from 2,600, which can see the stock revisiting levels of 3,000. Moving on to Larsen and Tubro, again, from a positional perspective, the stock is in a pretty strong trajectory. In fact, today also we have seen post a gap down opening, the stock recovering from its support of 3,500. So this is more of a short-term trading support, which is 3,500. So it's a short-term trade. If you have a long bet open in this trade, keep a strict stop loss below 3,450 and continue to ride your long bets in Larsen and Tubro. And I believe the other stock was Indigo, which again is in a firm positive trajectory. Just that recently, last 3 days, there has been some bit of profit taking from 5,700, which just kills the momentum which the stock has been. So right now it's a shift in gear from a positive momentum stock to a range bound scenario, and the range in Indigo would be 5,600, that's the resistance zone, and possibly 5,100, which is the lower end of the trading band. So if you have a buy bet in the Interglobe Aviation, slight dip till 5,100 cannot be ruled out. That's the level where you can reconsider averaging or buying more on dip at 5,100.
Okay, that's the view coming in from Akshay. But moving on now, the next query is for you, Kunal. The viewer Krish has written to us. They hold shares of SBI Life. They have 190 shares at a price of 1,515 rupees. They want to know your view on the stock and also if they should add more at the current price.
Yeah, bullish on the stock for SBI Life, and I think at current levels of 1740, 1735, it's a good price point where you can look to average. It looks like that the stock would probably try and take support just closer to its 50-day moving average. The 50 DMA is just 10 points below the current price for the stock price. So you can start at current levels, and if you're looking at a much more precise entry point, then I think closer to 17, 20, 25 could be a better range to buy SBI Life, but you can start at current levels.
Okay, so you can start at current levels. That's the view coming in on SBI Life. We have Sarmishta Malik, who has written to us from Kolkata. Now, she has purchased about 400 shares of Vedanta at an average price of 451 rupees per share. What is the price expected over the next 3 to 4 months? That's the question. Akshay, what will your view be on Vedanta?
If you look at the price structure of Vedanta, it's pretty clear that 400 is a massive support for this stock. I think for the last 4 months, we have strong demand, which is seen in terms of price volume action at the levels of 400. And recently, the metals are also doing well. So I believe the way the price structure of Vedanta is positioned, 475 is the immediate hurdle, and the broader price setup is indicative that 475 should be breached eventually. So with a 4 to 5 month view, which the viewer has, I believe you continue to hold. Possible price projections are 525 on the upside, where we need to revisit the charts, but 525 is the current projection. For that targets, you can continue to hold Vedanta.
Okay, a whole call coming in for Vedanta from Akshay. Now, Akshay, let's stay with you. The next query is coming from Jacob, who's written to us from UAE. They're a long-term investor. Their time horizon is 5 years. They hold 100 shares of NTPC at an average price of 328. 390 shares of Tata Power, 100 shares of Tata Power at a price of 390, and also they want to accumulate IRCTC. So they want to understand at which level they should accumulate more, and also at which level they should enter IRCTC.
The view for NTPC, first of all, if it's a very long-term view, 5 years plus holding, then as a sector per se, I think power sector one has to be invested in. But from a short to medium-term perspective, really NTPC has, I don't think it's in a strong upside trajectory. There is a scope that the stock may revisit its recent lows of 300 and even try to breach the support on the lower end. So in case you're keen on averaging NTPC, then I think you need to wait it out a bit. 290, 300 is the average or the price point where you can consider averaging the stock. As far as Tata Power goes, I think this is a better play stock in the power sector per se, and from a long-term perspective, really with a minimum 2-year plus horizon, you can expect levels of 550 plus. There is a very strong support at 300, and in case you plan to average more or buy more in the stock, 360, 375 range would offer a good dip in case the stock gives an opportunity. So stay invested in Tata Power. And coming to IRCTC, which is the third stock in your list, I think this is more in a range if you look at the monthly charts. And what my understanding is that 550, 600 is a massive price base for the stock. And in case going ahead, whenever you get an opportunity, in case of a corrective action, you get levels till 650 odd levels. I think that's a good price point to re-enter and build your buying bets if your time horizon is 5 years plus. So 650 is a good entry point, and currently with the price charts which I have, the possible target area you can look forward to is around 1200 to 1250.
That's the view coming in on a whole host of power stocks, and we discussed IRCTC as well. But we need to slip into a very short breather on that note. We'll discuss many more queries on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Bajaj Finserv. These are some of the top losers from the Nifty 50 index. But this is a show where we answer all your stock specific queries. We have Akshay Bhagwat and Kunal Botra with us to answer all your queries. We have Sunny, who has written to us from Goa. He's asking for a view on Emami, and he's asking whether the stock is retesting multi-year breakout. He's holding about 300 shares at an average price of 600 rupees per share. Kunal, what will your view be on Emami?
See, I think that breakout is some distance away for Emami, but the stock price is actually coming back into a decent price support territory. So when we try and join the trendline supports from 2020 for the stock price and then connect all the major lows on the quarterly charts, the stock price seems to have come back into a major support point for itself. And in the previous two legs, the stock has given fabulous returns post the retest of this major trendline support for Emami. So this could probably be a third or the fourth attempt for the stock price, in terms of that support trend line. So I believe purely in that context, this could be a good risk reward buy for Emami and maybe not a breakout zone for the stock price.
Okay, that's the view coming in on Emami. But moving on, we have another query that's come from Bangalore. Praveen has written to us. They want to know about Bank of Maharashtra. They have 33 shares of the company at an average price of 54.40 rupees. Now, they plan on holding this stock until December 2026. So, Akshay, what would your view be, on the technical front for this 1.5 years period?
See, the longer term charts are suggestive that the stock always resists at the level of around 80. And if you look at the average prices since inception, I think somewhere the price has been around 40, 45 from a longer term perspective. So the stock is showing a bounce back from its averages, and really from short to medium term perspective, there is no indication as of yet about any vertical rise or a one-way rally in the stock. Since the time is 1.5 years, you can afford to hold, continue to be invested. If you do get levels till 70, that is the point where we need to take a review of the stock or possibly take some profits off the table. But as of now, 40 is the support base and 70, 75 is the target area which you can expect in Bank of Maharashtra.
So that's the view coming in on Bank of Maharashtra. We have Hari, who has written to us from Kerala. He wants to know whether it is the right time to add SBI and Indian Hotels or IHCL. He's been holding them at an average price of 812 and 137.7 respectively. What will your view be, Kunal, SBI and IHCL?
Yeah, both these stocks are a buy at current levels. I think they've gone through a decent retracement or a price correction. I think both of these stocks are available closer to their 200 DMAs, 715, 20 thereabouts for Indian Hotels and closer to 800, thereabouts for SBI. So good price points for both of these stocks. Extremely strong, quality names. So I believe that if you're looking at this from a medium to long term play, these are good price points where you can look to accumulate both of these names.
Okay. That's the view coming in on Indian Hotels and SBI. But moving on, we have a query from Dimple, who's written to us from Mumbai. She wants to know if it's the right time to enter Coal India and BEL for the long term. Kunal?
BEL could be a better bet rather than Coal India at current levels, because Coal India is lacking a lot of momentum, for itself. So I think the breakout point for Coal India would be closer to 425 to 440 range. Let the stock take some time, break past about those levels. That's where you can look to buy. BEL, I think it's a very good buy at current levels. You may also look out for other PSU names in case if you want to just about venture onto some other PSU stocks. I can recommend a few. REC, PFC. I think these are classical buys at current levels. Given the way these stocks have positioned themselves over the last few years, you may also look out for defense names or the railway stocks. Something like BHEL looks attractive at current levels. You can look at HAL as well as Mascot Dock. They could be attractive bets at current levels.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on several of these defense plays. But hold on with us, we'll answer many more queries. But before that, let's put the spotlight on some geopolitical news coming in. And the situation seems to be worsening in West Asia, as Israel today said that it has struck Iran, and the latter has confirmed that explosions were heard in Tehran. This comes as tensions mount over US efforts to win Iran's agreement to halt production of material for an atomic bomb. Remember, Israel said it was declaring a state of emergency in anticipation of a missile and drone attack by Tehran. Listen in to what they had to say.
We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. This operation is for our right to exist here, for our future and for our children's future. The State of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people and will continue to do so.
All right, that's the word coming in from the IDF spokesperson. But let's also go across and listen into what Srinjoy is getting us on this matter.
Many years ago, the Israelis had hit Osirak. That was the Iraqi nuclear reactor. Now they have hit a large number of military and nuclear facilities in Iran. Now this had been talked about quite a while, but now it has actually happened. So the Israeli attack is really, in some senses, the beginning, because a lot of things will have to be seen. First of all, how much damage has been caused by these attacks? Secondly, what will Iran do? And how will Iran hit back? Because Iran has missiles, Iran has a military capability that cannot be discounted. Thirdly, Iran's allies, whether they are the Houthis, whether they are the Hezbollah in Lebanon, are also there, and they can do considerable amount of damage. The Americans, on the other hand, have disassociated themselves from this attack, and we have heard Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, say that we have nothing to do with this. Now, how this will work out remains to be seen, because you would expect an Iranian retaliation, you would expect attacks from the Houthis and the Hezbollah, and counter-retaliation, counter-strikes by Israel as well. So things can get very difficult. The war can widen.
Srinjoy, thanks so much for joining us with all those details. Geopolitical tensions continue to escalate, and this is having an impact on markets globally. Nifty is now down nearly 205 points, near that 24,600 mark. We'll answer many more queries on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
When the stakes are high and the answers are elusive,
it could be a good strategy actually shifting out from IndusInd Bank towards other banking names. I would also suggest that why not look at Axis Bank, because that's also another chart which has started to look attractive, shaping up very well. We've seen that the stock has ticked all the right boxes in terms of momentum, breakout, volume patterns, etc. So that could be another stock which you can keep an eye on.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on Axis Bank. But we have a question. Vishal has written to us from Dubai. He's asking whether it is the right time to switch from IndusInd Bank to Geo Financial at the current market price. Akshay, what will your view be, especially because of the negative news flow that we have seen on IndusInd Bank? Would it be the right advice to get out of IndusInd and buy Geo Financial instead?
Yes, I'm also of the similar view. As discussed, Geofinance looks strong on the charts technically. And plus, IndusInd Bank is right now, there is news flow off and on, which, it doesn't bode well for investors. So instead, be invested in a steady stock like a Geofinance, where broadly the recovery from 200-210 zone is promising enough to see the stock revisiting levels of 360 plus from a longer term perspective. So my choice would be to get invested in Geofinance over IndusInd Bank.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on Geo Financials. Akshay, now we have another user, Thomas, who's written to us from Kochi. They want to know about Varun Beverages. They have 1,000 shares bought at a price of 510. They want to know if they should hold, buy or sell.
Well, if it's a long-term investment, you need to hold this because really from a 2 to 3 month perspective, don't see much happening because the stock right now is slightly in a negative technical price setup. At least for the next couple of months, the range which is pretty evident is the support zone of 400 and a resistance zone of 575. Expecting the stock to spend more time in this range before it eventually sets up for the upside trajectory. So from a longer term perspective, yes, you need to accumulate it in the range of 420 to 440 odd zone. And, if you give it over a year's time, I think you might see the stock revisiting levels of 630, 640 plus the point from where we saw the correction setting in Varun Beverages.
That's the view on Varun Beverages. Rekha has written to us, and we have already discussed a lot of cement counters. This question is also on Ambuja Cement. She's holding about 200 shares of Ambuja Cement at an average price of 260 rupees per share. She's asking whether she should hold on to this position, book profits, or add on to this position. What will your view be, Kunal, Ambuja Cement?
So I would suggest to just hold on to the stock, not to add at current levels. The adding part which you can do, you can probably, if the stock crosses about the 575 mark, that could be a breakout point for Ambuja Cement. So as of now, hold. The charts are developing quite well. There is a chance that the stock may come back into a breakout mode above 575 mark. But I believe that it's better to just wait out because that would be just another some 4-5 percentage points from current level. So from a short-term play, I would suggest a hold at current levels, but a buy above or an average above 575 mark.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on Ambuja Cements. The next question is also for you, Kunal. Kiran has written to us from Pune. They want to know your view on Voltas. They have 100 shares at a price of 1,320. They want to know what could be the next target price for the next 3 to 6 months.
See, Voltas I think has been a huge underperformer, both in terms of the time and the price correction for the stock price. Now, since you purchased at slight higher levels, I would suggest just wait out for some more time. Look to average the stock, see, because largely the stock is still trading into a range. 1200 seems to be a good support. On the upside, 1330, 1350 is a resistance. So if you can try and push your cost price, lower to 1300 mark or sub 1300 levels, then I think making a comeback over here could be pretty much on the positive side. So you can probably even hold on to the stock with a slightly extended time horizon. So my strategy would be to try and average out the stock price closer to the 1200 level, which is a good support for Voltas, and then on the upside, wait out for a time frame which could be more than 3 to 6 months.
Okay, that's the view coming in on Voltas from Kunal. But we have Bharat, who has written to us from Hyderabad. He's holding about 500 shares of Amara Raja batteries purchased at 1530 rupees per share. He's saying that he purchased the stock almost 8 months back, and he's asking whether the stock whether he should sell out of this position or hold on to his position. Akshay, what will your view be? Amara Raja batteries?
Well, on the monthly charts, if you see, the stock has seen a very sharp fall right from 1700. I believe it's a one-way fall right up till 900. But the last 3 months of price action is suggestive that the prices are trying to form some bit of a support at levels of 900, even on the longer term charts. I think in 2018-19 time frame, we had a breakout, of this resistance zone of 900. So somewhere 900 is the point which holds a lot of relevance if you are positioned in the stock. So my suggestion is, as of now, since we are trading at the support zone, you need to keep a strict stop loss of 850 on this trade and continue to hold. And in case the stock stages a recovery rally, 1250 is the level where you need to take an exit in the stock.
All right, that's the view coming in on Amara Raja. But moving on, we'll keep answering your queries, stock-specific queries going forward as well. But we'll quickly, get Sharad on board to understand what's the primary market looking like. Is there some more trouble brewing within the IPO market amid these delays and fresh issues and a slew of block deals that are happening? Sharad?
Well, there seems a problem in the primary markets, and whether this is the right time to get the IPOs or not, that's also a question. Key headwinds coming in, geopolitical tensions, and interestingly, domestic cues that has also remained mixed. Now, the global uncertainty coming in from the tariffs as well, and the DI participation, if you look at it in the key IPOs, that has actually come down as well. Block exits also coming. That means this is coming from promoters as well as FIs as well. That means inflows are being questioned, especially in the primary market. Now, what's the immediate impact? What are we looking at in the grey market as well as in the IPO market? There is a grey market premium fall in Oswal Pump's IPO. The Zepto has actually delayed its IPO plans for next year as well. Interestingly, main boards, they have become very selective, and that's why the amount of main board IPOs that are coming are very restrictive till now over the last 1 month, 2 months as well. But interestingly, increased scrutiny coming for the SME IPOs as well, especially coming from the regulators. Now let's look at the upcoming IPOs. What are the numbers looking like? 72 companies have actually received the approval from SEBI, and that's worth almost 1.4 lakh crore rupees. And the key IPOs we are expected to kick in the next 2 to 3 odd months is HDB Financial Services. The IPO size is big. That's roughly 12,500 crore rupees. And also Hero FinCorp and NSDL ranging between 3,500 to 3,700 crore rupees a piece. So of course, a larger IPOs coming in would be impacting the liquidity. But in current situation, of course, whether an IPO comes or not, that's also a question mark.
Thanks so much for joining us with all those details. So primary markets are a buzz. This week we had a lot of action, and that action is likely to continue next week as well. But shifting focus back to queries, then we have R. Ganesh, who has written to us from Bangalore. And this question is for Kunal in particular. And he's asking for a view on all of these broking companies. He's asking whether it is the right time to add positions in Angel One, Motilal Oswal, JM Financial Services or Edelweiss with a long-term time frame. So is it the right time to add on to positions? That's the question.
See, it's a bit of touch and go, because right now what's happened is many of the indicators have started to enter into the negative territory for Angel One, etc. Because many of these stocks have gone through a sudden sharp 10% correction in the last 5-6 trading sessions. Eventually what happens is, once the indicators come into an oversold kind of territory, you expected the stock to come into a bounce. But many times the bounce could be a bit shallow, because if the force of the downtrend is still intact, the stock price may go into a couple of days of bounce and then correct further. So I would suggest that maybe have a dual positioning over here. One is that you can play for a bounce from starting from current levels, maybe allocate a lesser quantity than what you were expecting for the earlier stands for many of these capital market companies. Play out the bounce over the next couple of days, and then maybe over the next 1 or 2 weeks, you may probably judge that if the stock holds on to the current support levels, say 2,800, 2,900 support point, then you may expect to build up more positions over there and look at more positional time frames. So as of now, play for a bounce, and then over the next 1 week, try and judge depending on how the stock price takes support at lower levels.
All right, that's the view coming in on all those broking counters from Kunal. But Kunal, we have another question for you. Siddharth has written to us from Bangalore. They want you to pick out 3 stocks for them, which are looking, good on the charts. Their time frame is 1+ years.
Tough one to pick, stocks, especially given the way the markets have been correcting over the last couple of days. But I'll probably try and look at, some formidable sectors and large cap names. Infosys is something which you can look at, current levels of 1600 thereabouts. That's a chart which I believe could probably try to stand tall even if the market goes into a bit of a wobbly phase. Reliance is something which I think at 1400, 1420 mark would be a good contra buying territory for the stock price, given the way the stock has shown resilience and recovery from those 1100, 1150 mark in the month of March. And then, from the mid-cap name, something which over the last couple of days I've been highlighting, Biocon, I think at current levels of 350. Of course, it's a very volatile stock, but then I think closer to 350 levels could be a good buying zone for the stock price.
Okay, so those are some stock-specific ideas coming in from Kunal. And Siddharth has also written to us. He's telling Kunal has given some excellent calls on Aditya Birla Capital and many more stocks. But apart from that, we have Sastamani, who has written to us from Coimbatore. He's having about 200 shares of Kansai and Narolac, which were bought at 299 rupees per share. Kunal, what will your view be on this company?
So not a great buy, not a great stock to hold on to at current levels, especially over the last 4 years. I think if I'm not wrong, 2021 end or 21 mid is where the stock had made a life highs, and post that over the last 4 years, the stock has been dragging and going through a corrective phase. So not an attractive chart. If you're looking to buy, just wait out for a pattern when the stock confirms a break of its previous major swing highs. The immediate swing high for the stock price is about 275 mark. So either you wait, and not to add positions over here. And if you're looking to add, wait out for that first confirmation point about 275. That's where you can look to start nibbling into the stock.
Okay. Kunal, we have another query coming in from Balakrishna, who's written to us from Solapur. They hold 1,200 shares of IOC at an average price of 130 rupees. They've been holding them for more than a year now, and they want to know if it is advisable to add more shares. They're looking for long-term investment. So, and apart from that, they also want to invest in HPCL. So, is it a good time to enter?
Time to enter into these stocks now. I understand that these stocks are more prone towards the fluctuations for which happens in the crude oil prices. But when I look at the charts solitarily, for these names, the entire OMC pack, it just gives a sense that these stocks are getting ready for a breakout on the upside. So except for that crude fluctuations, which is very difficult to anticipate given the kind of geopolitical news flow which we are surrounded with, that could be the only risk into the price trends for these names. But looking at the charts purely for these stocks, I would believe that they are good buying zones for long-term traders.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on several of these oil-related stocks. Kunal, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us today and helping us answer all our viewers' stock-specific queries. But that's all the time we have on this edition of the show. Don't go anywhere. Market action will continue on the other side of the break.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ। डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड, मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
When the stakes are high and the answers are elusive, there's one voice unafraid to challenge the status quo.